What's going on, guys? Your boy Fluff here. The time's finally come. Rise of the Necromancer's out. We're going to be talking about the fastest T13 setup we've discovered so far. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun. Let's get into it. So first and foremost, this is a variation of the really popular Bone setup that's all over the leaderboards right now. But if you guys have played it, it feels a lot like, I would say, Invoker Crusader. Very effective, very good build, but it feels a little clunky, not very fast, but it's very good for high GRs. So this build revolves around the skill Bone Armor. Now, these stacks of Bone Armor decrease damage taken by 3% per enemy hit to a maximum of 10 enemies, but as you can see, it no longer gathers on your character like it would without the Inarius set. The 6-piece says Bone Armor also activates a swirling tornado of bone, damaging nearby enemies for 750 weapon damage and increasing the damage they take from the Necromancer by 2750. Now this is really important to note, the 6 set, that 2750 is just damage. Like, it doesn't say increases the damage of Necromancer skills by 2750 or anything like that. And that factors in a lot to this build. Well, we can touch more on that later. But the 2 set, you know, the Bone Armor skill, the damage is increased. 4 set, the Bone Armor grants additional 2% damage reduction per enemy hit. So again, having a nice big juicy pack is really, really good. And you want to keep those Bone Armor stacks up 100% of the time. In fact, when you first go into Rift, you might be a little squishy until you get these stacks up, so keep that in mind. So obviously you want 6-piece Inarius. Now, the stats on this is pretty forgiving. You don't really need a lot of cooldown reduction. Cooldown reduction actually helps a lot for getting Bone Armor cast. It actually does do a good chunk of your damage. So it's nice to have, and it's also nice to have to bring down the cooldown of Land of the Dead, which has a 120-second cooldown. So cooldown reduction is great, but you don't necessarily have to spec it on every piece. So now that Inarius is on your brain, we'll just talk about the stats that you want real quick. On the gloves, you're going to want Intelligence, Crit Damage, Crit Chance, cooldown reduction or area damage, you know, whatever you feel like you need more of. Area damage is a very good stat for this build. Shoulders, you want Invite, area damage, cooldown reduction, even a Corpse Lance roll is really good here. Again, this is for T13. We're not pushing the top of GR, so stats don't matter a ton. It's all dependent upon how you want to build your character. Helmet, you want Int, Bite, Crit Chance. And again, on any of these pieces, secondary physical resistance would be the best. On the chest, you'd want Int, Bite, Corpse Lance damage if you can get it again. I went Life here. I haven't actually gotten any pieces Ancient yet of the Inarius set. I almost have full Ancients of every other set, so I've been really, really unlucky. Legs, you're going on Invite, Armor. And the boots, just Invite, Armor. Movement speed's great. You'll notice on a GR pushing build, most people are wearing this two-hander Rilana's Shadow Hook. Very good weapon. Great effect. But for the speed build, we want as much speed as we can possibly get. Normally you would wear the Rilana's Shadow Hook and cube the Tragul's Corroded Fang, but we're actually just going to flip that. We're going to wear the Tragul's Corroded Fang and cube the Rilana's Shadow Hook, as you can see here. My big fat head's in the way. But Tragul's Corroded Fang, the Cursed Scythe rune for Grim Scythe, now has a 100% chance to apply a curse, and you deal 172% increased damage to cursed enemies. For this particular build, we actually don't care that Grim Scythe's going to apply effect. We're not going to use that at all, but we do care about the extra damage to cursed enemies. And then again, this works great with Rilana's Shadow Hook and the cube. Every point of maximum essence increases your damage by 0.5%, and Bone Spikes generates blah 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 blah. We don't really care about the secondary effect, although it's great because we do use Bone Spikes, but we're never going to be using Essence, so we don't really need that. Now on the Traguls, you're going to want damage, intelligence, cooldown again is nice. You can do attack speed, area damage. All the stats are great options. But one important thing to note is on the secondary, you want maximum essence. That's very important, and we'll get into that. Obviously, the highest Cursed Scythe damage deal you can roll, that's a given. And then in the offhand, what's different here from the pushing builds, we're going to run Lost Time. What this does is every cold skill that you cast increases your movement speed up to 5 stacks, which is about 25%. Really good, and we're running a lot of cold skills, so this is up pretty much 100% of the time. But ideally on this, you would want something like crit, cooldown reduction, area damage, intelligence, obviously base damage roll, and then again, very important on the secondary, you want a maximum essence roll. In the bracer slot, you would want Nemesis, Invite, Crit Chance. You can do armor or cold damage. Cold damage will help you, but it's not really what your build's based around, so it's not that big of a deal. In the weights, we just run Witching Hour, Invite, attack speed, crit damage. Then we're running the Endless Walk set, which is the Traveler's Pledge and the Compass Rose. In the Traveler's Pledge, you can just do an int, crit damage, crit chance, or you could do cold, but the int would probably actually help you more. You could also do area damage, crit chance. That would be very good as well. And then for the Compass Rose, you could do int, crit damage, crit chance, cooldown reduction. The cooldown reduction could be again swapped out with area damage. And then in the other ring slot, we're actually running a Unity. The Dream Rolls here would be great, something crit damage, crit chance, and elite damage. Then in the cube, we're going to run Aquila's Curious, which we basically have no essence spending skills here, so we're not losing any resource. The only ability that spends resource is our bone armor, which we only cast once every 10 seconds. So we're basically going to have 100% essence all of the time. And then in the ring slot, we're running Quizbin's Sentence, which is you deal 100% damage to enemies that are slowed, or you triple that against enemies afflicted by any other type of. And this, the secondary effect on this really only comes into play for greater risk. You don't really need it for T13 risk. We're really only focused on that 100% damage. Now we'll get into the gems really quick. Obviously Bane of the Trap is pretty much a staple in any build ever made ever. And then we're actually running Myrne, because again, like I said before, that 6-piece Inaria set bonus says 2750 damage. It doesn't say skills, it says damage. So Myrne, which you might not even have leveled up because no one ever uses it, is actually amazing in this build, and it's awesome. It just rains down holy lightning from the sky. Amazing. You're gonna love it. And then for the last slot, we're using Wreath of Lightning. It does get juiced up thanks to that 6-set bonus of Inarius, and again, it helps us move faster, which is what a speed build's all about. Skills. So normally you would run Grim Scythe with Cursed Scythe to apply the curse, but we actually don't need that because for our curse we're running Aura of Frailty, which basically auto-casts itself on anything within range. So we don't have to worry about applying the curse at all. So because of that, we don't have to run Grim Scythe, Cursed Scythe. We can run Grim Scythe with Frost Scythe, which is also very good. You know, keep attacking things very, very fast. I personally like to run Bone Spikes with Frost Spikes because you're actually not immune to Molten in this build. So this actually gives you something to do while you're running away from Molten. You can just step out of it and keep casting it on the enemy that you're fighting. It also leaves a patch of frost on the ground, which works great with the Crispin Sentence. Then your kind of big skill damage dealer is Corpse Lance, Brittle Touch. Enemies become brittle, increasing their chance to be crit. Great skill. You're going to be a ton of corpses. You're going to be making a ton of corpses on the ground because you're just destroying everything. Again, this is a cold skill, so it will help proc the lost time, more movement speed juice. Then we're actually going to skip ahead real quick to Land of the Dead. This makes it so all corpse skills, which is Corpse Lance, can be cast at will for 10 seconds. You don't even need corpses, you can just spam Corpse Lance. For more movement speed, we run with Blood Rush with Metabolism. Normally you'd run Blood Rush with Potency for more armor. You don't really need it in T13. It's nice to have that additional charge, which is really nice when you, like, say, pick a dead end and you go the wrong way. It's nice to get right back and not be penalized that much. Last but not least, we run Bone Armor, of course, with Harvest of Anguish, which gives us even more movement speed per enemy hit, which is amazing. For passives, we want Overwhelming Essence because, again, we are using that Relina Shadow Hook in the cube, so more essence means more damage. And again, guys, look for it on your weapon, your offhand, or if you're using the two-hander, definitely look for it in your secondary. Spreading Malediction, again, is a really good one here because we are cursing a lot of enemies. We get a 1% damage bonus for each enemy is affected by one of your curses. So again, it's a must. Standalone is also really good because this is not a pet build. We are just a melee mancer, which is fantastic. So this is amazing. Increase armor by 100% and reduce by 10% for each active minion. We won't have any active minions, so this is 100% all the time. And last, we don't really have a great one to choose here. There are other options, but I tend to choose Swift Harvesting, increase the attack speed of basically Bone Spikes by 15%. Great. But important thing to note here, guys, is that for Corpse Lance to be doing maximum damage, you need to be within range of that spiral of bone. So if you're back here, you'll notice that Corpse Lance is not going to do that much damage. Well, it needs to be within range. As you guys can see, the Myrne procs like crazy. You can just stand here with the bone armor up, and mobs just take a ton of damage from obviously the bone armor spinning thing, plus Myrne procking like all the time, along with Wreath of Lightning. Now, a few things to note, guys. It is a very tanky build for T13. You know, this can do up to GR 75, no problem. But it is a little squishy, and what I mean by that is you can't just stand in things like Molten or, you know, face tank everything. You will have to move around a bit, make sure you use your Blood Rush to get out of trouble. But the things I really like about this build is, one, it's a melee build. Go figure, they make another mage type class, and it's a better melee class than the melee classes that are already in the game. But two is the freedom you have with this set, an Arya set. So I've literally tried over the past 24, 48 hours every variation of the skills that the Necromancer has, from things like Corpse Explosion, to Death Nova, to Bone Spear. Basically any damaging abilities that the Necromancer has, the Anaria set will buff. It's that good. You know, so if you want to use something like Death Nova, you can swap out and put in Devour in your bar somewhere and, you know, drop Land of the Dead because you won't really need it. And it still really works. It's not as optimum as this, you know, sweet T13 setup, but it still does T13 at a very reasonable speed. Everything I've tried hasn't been bad. Now for GRs, this will clear 69.75, about 3 to 4 minutes. It's really hard to get under that 3.5 minute marker with the Necromancer, for speeds anyways, at least with an Arius, but it's a pretty decent time. And this can scale up, no problem. You just throw in the GR pushing build, change some things around, and you can hit, you know, 79s to 85s without that much trouble. Normally I don't touch on Paragons, but there's actually one really important thing to note here. You do want to put points into maximum essence. Again, that's going to give you more damage off of the Relina's Shadow book. As always, guys, I will leave a rift clear at the end of this video. Nothing special, first one I tried. And as always, like, subscribe, come over to Twitch, ask your questions, look for new content on my YouTube channel. Peace out. But yeah, we'll just jump right into the rift, give you guys an idea of how it works. Again, this is not some perfect rift. Again, we're a little squishy before we get the bone armor up. We want to get that up as fast as we can. 10 stacks, that's what you'll see. And usually for our first elite pack, we'll pop that Land of the Dead. We might not be super juiced up with corpses or anything like that yet. Because we don't have to apply the curse, we don't have to worry about perfect timing for the bone armor. Just get a nice little juicy pack together, and you can pop it. You aren't immune to knockback and stuff like that, which is really weird coming from other classes that, you know, have like these ulterior modes that make you immune to all CC. Okay, we're going backwards here, but it's okay. We found somebody. So yeah, you guys should be seeing elite packs aren't going to last longer than 2-3 seconds, which is about right for speeds. Again, we went the absolute wrong way, of course. Yeah, just hit up a little bone armor on the way, proc your lost time. Again, we're in Nemesis, so pylons are amazing. Or pick up those bubbles. Not a lot of rifts, or elites this rift. Sucks. Always happens. Gonna pop Land of the Dead because we can. Why not? Make sure again you guys are in close range within that bone spiral. Otherwise, you're not gonna get a ton of damage from Land of the Dead. Okay, when they run from you. First. Ooh. See, it moves really quick once you have all the stacks of lost time up. And once all those corpses are up, you can really spam that corpse lance. And luckily, we don't run Ingyam here, so we don't need to kill like all the little minions of like an elite pack. We can just focus down the big guy, move on. Which is really, really nice. to hit like a little bone armor on the way. Make sure you keep your lost time up. That's really important. No, the exit. Need more leads. You can see that the Wreath of Lightning does pretty decent damage thanks to that 6-piece Scenarius. Really nice. Here we're gonna pop Land of the Dead. Can. Towards the end of the rip, you want to try to save it for the RG, but it's T13, so it doesn't matter that much. But it's good hack practice to get into for GR pushing. Die. A lot of corpses here. This is the thing I'm talking about. Like, if they were still alive, nice to have that bone spikes instead of the scythe, because scythe you have to be in melee range for. If it's bone spikes, you can just like stand outside and spam it, or try to anyway. See, we don't have to kill all the little scragglers. Of course, corpse spear can be really all over the place. Corpse lance, or whatever. My bad. Ooh, this dude. From that juice, we got Land of the Dead, Rift Guardians up, dead. But again, guys, you can swap out a ton of skills here. It's still really, really fast. I love this build. It's a lot of fun. I like it a lot more than the pushing build because it's a lot faster. You move around the map a lot faster. You swing a lot faster. But yeah, it's fun.